Hello and welcome back to the Ghost of Alcantra. I think today we're going to return to the 87 timeline, and I assume it's going to be a little less dark than what we saw with the 97 one last time. But who knows? Not me. Let's find out. July 7th, 1987. I consulted Warburton and Terence about my feelings for Alexandria, but all they told me was to make a move. My date with Alexandria was today, but I decided to tell her how I felt at our neighboring town's strawberry festival in a couple weeks. Call me old-fashioned, but I wanted the occasion to be special. Given our first meeting, I thought a confession at a festival would be appropriate. Any romantic advances or mishaps between us deserved a little flair. A real romantic? Okay. I headed downstairs to find my parents were still fretting about the state of our house. I couldn't tell them that our place wasn't going to compare to the Thorn mansion, no matter how spiffy it looked. Uncle Kyle wasn't going to be joining us tonight, which was a relief for me. Alexandria was perfectly capable of bluffing her way through a situation, but I still thought that her and Uncle Kyle meeting was best avoided. I decided to give my parents a word of encouragement before heading out. Don't worry, guys, the place is fine for Alexandria. She's not judgy. Well, I am. My father was cleaning the table, which looked spotless to me. My mother was muttering frantically under her breath while bemoaning the state of her kitchen. Relax, Mom, your cooking is great. The plan was that Alexandria and I would hang around town for a bit, then come back to my place to eat dinner with my family. My mother was making some sort of casserole thing. My mom is a great cook, but we were playing it safe with typical Midwest fare. I doubted Alexandria would care about the quality of the food. Unfortunately, as far as Mom was concerned, Alexandria might as well have been the queen. Great isn't good enough. It needs to be magnificent. I'm not sure a casserole can ever be magnificent, Mom. She glared at me. Either you tell me what I want to hear, or you go bother your dad. I looked at my dad. Don't bother me. I looked back at my mom. I decided to try to be tactical. Don't worry, Mom. Alexandria is very nice and your cooking is very good. Just do your best to act natural. Since when has being natural been a part of being in this family? Wow. Fair point. We were weird. Well, I tried. Guess I'll head off then. We'll be back around 6, so we have plenty of time to prepare and calm down. My mom decided to start hyperventilating in response. Apparently, 6 hours wasn't nearly enough time for the panicking she had planned. I guess she really thought her future grandchildren were riding on this dinner. Yes, it's a bit excessive, innit? Good luck out there. Thanks, Dad. I opened up the door but decided to turn back and voice my thoughts aloud. Your future grandchildren aren't riding on this, Mom. Not yet, anyway. I closed the door and headed out, though I thought I could hear her yell, "Then why am I making this casserole?" in response. Oh dear. I arrived at our usual meeting place along the canal front. She was already there as usual. I checked my watch. I was 20 minutes early. Come to think of it, I had never arrived before she did. How long did she wait for me normally? You wait long? She smiled at me and then gave a little quizzical tilt of her head. Not long. Say, should I come up with a nickname for you? You're always calling me a princess. I mean, Nick is already a nickname. For Nicholas, then? Yep. How that thing changed there. That doesn't really feel right as a nickname given everyone already calls you that. You call anyone else by a nickname? No, just you. I think she smirked at that. Well, you don't have any obvious standout qualities like my regal nature, so I'll have to think harder to come up with one for you. But for now, I like Nick. She really had a talent for those ambiguous statements, I was about to say. We didn't have anything specific planned for the downtown portion of our date, so I suggested we stop by the library first and then go see a movie afterwards. I had already finished the 3 books I had been assigned. I liked all 3 of them, though surprisingly Pride and Prejudice was my favorite. I blamed Alexandria for that. I always liked coming to the library with Alexandria, and not because of the books themselves. I loved being around Alexandria when she was around books. She always had a sparkle in her eye when she talked about stories. I did my best to keep up with her thoughts on the books that she had assigned for me to read, but it was always a little difficult because I was too busy being in love with her, being in love with stories. No. The way she talked about the depths of human experience, you'd have thought that I was the one who had been locked in a mansion and she the one who had seen the world. I found Alexandria looking at sports history books when I returned from dropping my novels off. I didn't know you were into sports. I'm not really. Then why are you looking at them? I figured it's only fair if I get into your interests, since I kinda forced mine on you with the books. The way you paint me out to be makes me look like such a guy. You are a guy. Yeah, but it's such a stereotype for guys around here to be into sports. I have a sophisticated emotional side to me as well. Is that so? It is so. Tell you what, how about I pick up 3 books this time? I don't know. I feel like you're always doing things for me and I never do anything for you. That's not true. You give me a relief from being around dudes all the time. She scowled at me. Well, to be fair to you, it's not really easy in your position to do things for me. I made little air quotes with my fingers. But you make me smile, laugh, and have a good time. That's plenty enough for me. Maybe that's good enough for you, but I promise that one day I'll do something for you instead. Today, we'll let you pick the books. I randomly picked another Jane Austen book, though Alexandria raised an eyebrow when I picked Emma. I guess she thought it was above my reading level. Well, I'd show her. Hopefully. Next I picked To Kill a Mockingbird, which rewarded me some derision from Alexandria. Who hasn't read To Kill a Mockingbird? Me? I haven't. Lastly, I picked the new Calvin and Hobbes collection book, because I was a funny guy like that. I bet you're too smart to read comics. I've read Calvin and Hobbes, dummy. I figured she already owned all the books I had borrowed because of the supposedly impressive Thorn library, but she made me borrow 2 copies of each book so I could let her borrow a copy. It'll be more fun this way. Like a book club, nice. Next we went to the movie theater about a block away to go see The Untouchables. Is this your first time going to the movie theater? Yeah, we have a TV to play VHS tapes, but I've never seen a movie at the theater. Oh boy. Damn, we should have done this sooner. You think a rated R movie might be kind of intense for your first show? I can handle it. It seemed like she had a great time watching the movie. As for myself, I didn't really pay much attention, despite it being a crime thriller about Al Capone. I was too preoccupied with Alexandria to care much about gangsters. They're so smitten. Afterwards, we headed back to my place while Alexandria yapped my head off with her interpretations about the movie. As we got closer, I decided to give her a bit of a warning about my parents, more specifically about my mom. Listen, my parents are pretty cool, but they can be a little silly at times, especially my mother. She has it in her head that every girl in my life will be the next Mrs. Fox, so she might be kind of weird about that, just to let you know. Alexandria laughed from the back of my bicycle. I'm the one proposing anyway, right? You'd have to be a Mr. Thorne. I groaned. It would certainly make things dramatic for Uncle Kyle if his nephew married into the family he's investigating for murder. Think about all the intel you could give him. She patted me on the back. Don't worry, your parents won't bother me. Actually, I'm kind of nervous about the whole thing. It went well with your friends, but the stakes feel higher with parents. Don't worry about that. They'll do all the talking anyway. It'll be a miracle if they let you get a word in. I mean, that sounds easy enough then, if they don't have a whole catalogue of questions for you. We walked to the door and I let Alexandria in. My mother decided to immediately prove me wrong by being unable to talk in complete sentences. She and Alexandria decided to have a stammer off. Oh dear. Hello, Mrs. Fox. I'm... Hello, Mrs. Fox. I'm Alexandria, Nick's friend. Thank you so much for having me. Hi, Alexandria. It's so good to meet you. They said this to each other, nodding their heads so much it looked like they were taking turns bowing to each other. Nice to meet you, Alexandria. I'm Nick's dad. My dad made his introductions, but he was about 15 feet back, so it looked more like he was talking to our dinner table. Alexandria didn't hear him, since she was too busy failing to communicate with my mother. Why are you all such messes? This is crazy. It looked like I was going to have to try and hold this dinner together. I decided to be grateful that my parents cared enough to be Rex. That's true. I wrangled us to the dinner table and encouraged my mother to say something about the food. Yes, you're right, Nick. Food it is. I'm sorry it's so little, Alexandria. Just haven't had the time lately. What a lie. I prepared just a small thing, but I hope it'll be all right. She said this while bringing out the casserole and about 14 different side dishes that included mashed potatoes, a variety of different vegetables, a couple of salads, and various fish dishes. What? Who's gonna eat all that? Just a small thing. Mom, how the hell are we gonna eat all this? Language, son. Which made Alexandria laugh. As we got started on our small dinner, my mom started acting more natural by doing her favorite thing, which also happened to be Alexandria's favorite thing, embarrassing me. We are just so thrilled to finally meet you, Alexandria. Nick has told us so much about you. My dad nodded along with her. About how smart and pretty he thinks you are. I nearly spat out my casserole. When did I mention that? Why, it's been so long since Nick has brought a girl home. We were getting a little worried. Not that there would be anything wrong if, he wasn't into bringing girls home. But anyway, it's just so nice to have you here, Alexandria. I considered choking myself with a fried fish to put me out of my misery, but Alexandria was smiling and carrying on with my mother. Oh, that's very kind of you, Mrs. Fox. Nick has been very kind. I'm new to the area and it's been rather difficult. By the way, the food is delicious. My mother beamed delightedly. Anyways, Alexandria shot a glance at me. So, Nick has brought girls home before, huh? My mom and dad shot each other alarmed looks. My father jumped in. Oh no, Cordelia's just exaggerating. Just one or two. Nick isn't really the type. Right, Nick? She's teasing me, you guys, don't worry. Well, I think it's downright proper of her to make sure she knows your dating history. Mom. Alexandria laughed again. Thankfully, everyone was having a good time now. My mother and Alexandria really bounced off each other well, though my mother kept saying outrageous things to impress Alexandria. My father tried to instill in her that I wasn't really the promiscuous type and that he and Cordelia had raised me up with good family values. Don't worry, Mr. Fox. I know Nick is a good family guy. Whatever that means. My mother got excited by the word family. Yes, wouldn't he make such a nice... Don't finish that sentence, Mom. Alexandria gave me a sideways smirk. Maybe her being part of the family wouldn't be so bad. I'm not sure Alexandria ever had much of a family life, given who her family was. I began to daydream a little, though I had to cut my daydreams short while my mother got a little carried away trying to convince Alexandria to stay the night. Alexandria, dear, why don't you stay the night? It's so dangerous around Alcantra these days. You know, funny thing, Howard and I's room is on the first floor, and it just so happens that Nick... I coughed, interrupting her. That wouldn't match the nice family image Dad had tried to build up for me anyway. Alexandria was desperately trying not to laugh. I can walk her home, Mom. Can you, son? Not like you're going to be much good against the murderer if they show up. I couldn't tell if he was joking, making fun of me, or trying to be a wingman. I knew we couldn't let my parents offer to drive her home given Alexandria's secret, so I rattled my brain to think of an excuse, but Alexandria had me covered. Don't worry, Mr. and Mrs. Fox, I trust Nick. I'd really enjoy a nice evening walk with him after the nice meal. She played it up by tapping me on the arm. My father nodded his head approvingly, and my mother nearly fainted out of joy. At least she knew how to play my parents. Yeah, a walk would be great. Alexandria and I made to leave while my mother tried to pack as many leftovers as possible for her. Alexandria, dear, you must come over again soon. It was just so great to have you. Yes, we'd be happy to have you again. Thank you. I'd be really happy to come again. With a drawn-out goodbye with many promises made about seeing each other again, Alexandria and I finally left carrying containers of leftovers. Of course, I knew where the Thorn Mansion was, but Alexandria was going to utilize their secret passage, and I didn't know where that was. Alexandria didn't want me to know for the sake of her secret. Your parents are pretty funny, Nick. Agreed. That's one way to put it. I'm being serious. I'm jealous. I've never gotten to be a part of something like that. Your parents really care about you, you know. I know they do. I wasn't really sure how to respond given Alexandria's family. Ideally, we could get Alexandria away from the Thorns, but how would that happen? Just storm the gates? Tell my uncle and stage a police takeover? Scream about my love for her in front of the mansion? I didn't trust myself around the topic of her family, so I changed the subject. So, you want to know about Charlotte and Jennifer? Oh, I already know about them. Warburton and Terence told me everything. We don't talk about Charlotte, and Jennifer cheated on you with another guy after 3 weeks. It was probably sooner than that, to be honest. I think she dated me to try and get the other guy jealous. Oof. Did you love her? Not really. I don't even think I really liked her that much. Then why did you go out with her? Good question. We were talking, and as we got to know each other, it just seemed natural. It just seemed like the next step, like I was running through the motions. She didn't respond, and we walked in silence for a bit, taking in the night air. I loved nighttime, and loved it even more with Alexandria. The two of us belonged under the stars. I was just teasing when I asked about your previous girlfriends. What I really wanted to ask was about Jenny. Jenny? Yeah, what's between you two? She's my neighbor. We used to hang out a lot when we were kids. And you don't now? Nope, we haven't hung out much since middle school. She's busy with basketball. Warburton has a crush on her and she knows about it, but she isn't interested in relationships right now. Alexandria walked a bit further in silence. I sensed an opportunity to get to do the teasing for once. What, you jealous? Maybe a little. I wasn't expecting honesty, so I didn't know what to say. I would have liked to have known you for as long as she has. I never really had an opportunity to have history with others, good or bad. We returned to silence. There was a part of me that was like, you dummy, just go tell her you like her, but I also recognized that things would never be easy for us. As long as she was a thorn, there was an obstacle between us. Neither of us talked about it, but we both knew it. Hey, Alexandria. I know this is a long shot, but do you think it's possible that I'll ever meet your family? She stopped in front of me. Or am I going to have to hide that you're a thorn forever? She turned to face me. Because I will if I have to, but I'd rather it not come to that. I decided to be a little brave, if also a little stupid. Alexandria, do you want to be a thorn? She started a bit, surprised by my bold question. I continued. My uncle, you know he's a detective. Well, if I told him about you and you stayed with us while he worked, maybe he could do something. He could potentially force the thorns to say something. I feel like that's quite unrealistic. Like, legally speaking. Isn't that kind of kidnapping? Or, I mean, then again, she's 18, right? I don't know. You know, make them acknowledge you. Either they say you're part of the family, or they ignore you. In either case, you could have your freedom. Alexandria stared at me, and then gave a laugh. Given the build-up, I thought you were gonna suggest something more heroic than running to the authorities. You're the one who told me to make myself useful and whisk you away. So, is that a yes or a no to being whisked away? Asking the cops for help doesn't really count as whisking me away. Really? I don't know. She took a step closer to me. It was dark out, but even in the darkness, I could make out her face. She looked back into mine. You don't have to take me away. I'll come to you. I can't tell you everything about the thorns. I'm sorry. But you should know that this state of affairs won't continue. I won't let it. So, I know this isn't much to go on, but please be patient. I won't stay hidden forever, I promise. Be patient. Easier said than done. Okay, I'll try. At least I won't charge the front gate. She laughed and the tension between us eased a little. That could be fun in its own way. Assuming I didn't get shot. Oh, you'd definitely get shot. Great. We arrived at the canal front. Just on the steps and a bit of a walk afterwards, and we'd arrive at our usual meeting place, which is where I assumed we'd part for the night. Of all the girls to fall in love with in this town, I had to pick the one who was hiding her identity and whose family was likely involved with several murders. Those weren't going to be easy barriers to overcome. I decided to take one more step towards overcoming those barriers tonight. I held out my hand to Alexandria. Here, Alexandria. It's dark out and it's dangerous to go down the steps. We must be careful. Wouldn't want my parents to kill me for screwing up escorting you home. I was expecting a snide remark at my very obvious excuse for holding her hand, but she just said thanks and gave me her hand. We walked down the steps together, hand in hand. It was our first time holding hands. It saddened me in a way. I considered Alexandria to be my first love, but this wasn't my first time holding hands with a girl. When we hugged, that wouldn't be my first hug with a girl. Alexandria couldn't even be my first kiss. Does it really matter? It saddened me because this would all be a first for Alexandria, and it shouldn't have been. We reached the bottom of the steps and kept holding hands till we reached our meeting spot, walking in silence, savoring the moment. Alexandria let go of my hand when we walked under the gazebo. Thanks, I can go the rest of the way on my own. I figured you wouldn't let me see this secret passage. It's for your own good. I can't let you know everything about me. You know my name, my family, my personality, my moves in Yuba Ball, the jokes I make, the worries I have, and how my hand feels. A girl has to keep some secrets, you know. Same place and time as usual tomorrow? Sure, sounds good. She smiled and turned around, retreating to the world that I knew nothing about. Hopefully, she'd tell me about that world someday. Okay, that was sweet enough. By the way, I hope you can hear the music. Some of the tracks are a lot more quiet than others. I don't know. Okay. July 8th, 1987. The next morning, I woke up with a clear head, embarrassed by what I had said yesterday. Was I really talking about whisking her away unironically? Even my parents weren't that bad. That said, my newfound rationality wasn't going to stop me from being in love with her. It's futile to fight your heart. The chances we could be together were probably slim, but I was going to try anyway. After all, my parents were counting on me. I wonder if they'd feel the same way if they knew she was a daughter of the Thorns. I went to meet Alexandria like usual. I arrived at our meeting spot 20 minutes early. For once, she wasn't there yet. I guess there was a first for everything. I am immediately worried. I sat down on the bench under the gazebo and waited for her, trying to think of a witty thing to say in reference to me arriving before her. 10 minutes before our meeting time and she still hadn't arrived. Then it was the time we had arranged to meet at, and she still wasn't here. I wasn't particularly worried yet. I was used to Warburton showing up late all the time. Still, it was very unlike Alexandria. 30 minutes passed. And then an hour. And she still wasn't here. I was beginning to get a little worried. Unfortunately, I had no way to contact her since I couldn't call the Thorn Mansion without giving away that I knew she was a Thorn. After 2 hours had passed, I conceded that she probably wasn't going to come, but I still sat on the bench anyway, hoping I was wrong. I gave up at 6 p.m. There was no way Alexandria would ghost me on purpose. The most likely explanation was that she just couldn't come today. Maybe she was sick. If something was up, I just had to hope she could contact me somehow. Of course, the other explanation was that her family had decided to lock her up again, but from what Alexandria told me, it seemed like she was confident that she was going to get her freedom for good. Was that a front? I didn't want to consider the possibility, because I couldn't do much in that scenario if it actually happened. For now, I'd get advice from the older people in my life. When I returned home, I let my parents know that Alexandria didn't show up. My mom immediately started blaming herself. I knew we should have gone for a roast instead of a casserole. Cordelia, the casserole was excellent. But it's just so plain. Guys, I doubt she's avoiding me because of yesterday. Yes, you're right, honey. I'm sure it's nothing. Probably just caught a cold. Your mother's right, Nick. Probably just a cold. If you keep going to your meeting place, I'm sure she'll show up in the next couple of days. My dad huffed afterwards, though. Wish she'd have given you a phone number, though. I knew she was a little too mysterious. I'm sure she has her reasons, Howard. Yeah, she does. Your uncle's coming back tonight. I'm sure she's fine, but maybe he'd know a way to get in touch to make sure she's doing okay. I don't know how he'd do that without an address or name. My dad shrugged. I just sort of expect him to know what to do. Uncle Kyle was busy anyway. I was probably worrying for nothing. I was overreacting. People didn't show up for meetings all the time. It was pretty impressive that we had made it more than a month without either of us missing a meeting. It was really just a matter of time. I phoned Warburton, Terence and Jenny. I asked them if they had seen Alexandria. None of them had seen her, though they promised me they'd keep an eye out.
Relax, Nick. I know you like her a lot, but don't overreact. I'm sure it's nothing.
It was frustrating because I couldn't reveal to anyone why I was so worried. Everyone thought I was overreacting, but I knew there was the possibility she was being locked up in the Thorn Mansion and not allowed out. Did they find out she told me about her being a thorn? If so, you'd think they would immediately confront me about it. I would have almost been relieved about the idea if there wasn't the possibility of them being murderers hanging over my head. Uncle Kyle returned later that evening. I let him know what was going on. He brushed aside my concerns.
Nick, it's been only a day. I'm sure she just got sick, though it's unfortunate you can't check up on her. Besides, without a name or residency or phone number, we can't do much of a search anyway.
He gave me a sympathetic look and then continued.
Listen, if there's no word of her around town for a couple of days, I'll try to do something. So keep your head up, Nick.
I nodded. I stared at the wall, thinking of what I'd do if it turned out to be the case that her family had locked her away. Could I do anything? I'd have to tell someone, probably Uncle Kyle. Then could he do something? I wasn't sure he could. The following morning, my parents were quite cheerful when I came down for breakfast. When I sat down, they handed me an envelope that was addressed from Alexandria. I looked it over for a return address. There wasn't one. Of course not. I figured that would be the case to avoid exposing Alexandria as a thorn. I was immediately suspicious. This wasn't Alexandria's style. She'd only send a letter if that was her absolutely only way of getting in contact with me. Was this in the mailbox?
No, just left outside the door, but I'm sure she just asked them where to drop it off rather than spend money on mailing it.
I opened up the envelope from Alexandria. Inside was an explanation. It went, Dear Nick, I'm sorry the news has to reach you this way, but I had to suddenly leave Alcantra for a family emergency. Please try to understand. I do not know when I'll be able to return to Alcantra. Tell Warburton, Terence and Jenny that I had a great time hanging out with them and that I'm sorry I couldn't say goodbye. I had a great time with you as well, Nick. I look forward to seeing you again someday. Alexandria. I read the letter twice, once in shock and then again in disgust. I tossed the letter towards my parents who read it and immediately began trying to console me. I didn't listen to them. I might have been heartbroken if I had believed for a minute the letter was written by Alexandria. Unless she was the greatest actress in the world, I had to have meant something to her. This letter was so impersonal. I was barely an afterthought. Additionally, there was no way Alexandria could leave the area given what I knew about her. No, I knew what was really going on. Her father must have reversed his decision about her freedom and had this letter sent as an excuse. My mother was nearly in tears with her hands on my shoulder, telling me that she just knew that Alexandria would come back. She told me that she was so sorry for me and how hard it must have been. My dad was trying to tell me about stories he'd heard about family emergencies and how sudden they could be. I didn't listen to them. I brushed aside my mom's hands and gave her a simple thanks and went to call Warburton. I called up Warburton and gave him the news. I asked him if he could tell the others.
Man, I don't even know what to say. I
cut him off. Don't worry about it, man.
I'm so sorry, dude. I know how much you liked her, but don't give up hope. She might come back. I know she really liked you, dude. You hear that? There's no way she'd leave without a good reason, so don't you give up hope.
I thanked him for the kind words and hung up. I knew Warburton was right. I know Alexandria liked me a lot. I don't know if she loved me like I loved her, but I knew she wouldn't just up and leave. No, my lack of hope was because to get her back in my life didn't depend on her. It depended on two other thorns. The realization caused my heart to sink. My parents gave me some space that evening, which I appreciated. I spent the evening by myself in my room. I had always known that there was some risk of heartbreak with her. I knew that the moment I realized I was in love with her. But man, I didn't think heartbreak would be so soon. All those cheesy things I said to her a couple of nights ago, they were cheesy, but I meant them. I really would take her away from the thorns if she wanted me to. Now, I might never know what she wanted me to do. I glared at my reflection from the mirror in my room. I'm an idiot. I thought I knew the real Alexandria, that I was so special to her that she must have shown me a side that she didn't show anyone else. I believed that I was bringing out her true self, that I was a good influence on her. I only thought about what I was adding to her life and not enough about the actual troubles in her life. Let's face it, there was so much I didn't know about Alexandria. I only knew her on a surface level. What she really wanted, what she really desired, how she thought about life, what she wanted from our relationship. I knew nothing about that. I looked at a rose and ignored all the thorns. There was a whole side of her life that she didn't tell me about, and I proceeded to act like I was the one in the world who knew her best. I wouldn't let this stop me from trying to see her again. This wasn't goodbye for good, but it was still a harsh realization. Because, let's face it, I'm an idiot. I had forgotten that Alexandria was a mystery, and there was a part of her I didn't know, don't know now, and maybe never will. Oh boy. So I was wondering before, or just had the thought before, where he was like, okay, yeah, our date is today, but I'm going to confess my feelings at this festival. Like, maybe don't put things off that way. You never know what's gonna happen. On the other hand, it's not like he was like hiding his feelings completely, so it's okay to have a middle ground as well, but yeah, it sucks. July 10th, 1987. I spent the rest of the evening depressed and went to bed that way. I had racked my brain going through the potential possibilities of what I could do to meet Alexandria again, and I had come up with nothing better than storming the front gate and asking to see her. It's said that in times like these you should follow your heart. Unfortunately, my heart didn't know what to do. My brain's best idea was to just forget the whole thing. I ignored my brain. I couldn't just move on like that. While trying to think of what I could do for Alexandria, I ended up falling asleep feeling miserable. Thunk. Thunk thunk. What was that noise? It sounded like something hitting my window. Strange. I couldn't hear any rain, and it definitely wasn't hailing outside. I groggily removed the covers and tottered over to the window. I didn't see anything on the ledge. I opened up the window, and a gust of the night air enveloped me, helping me wake up. I looked down, and then I saw her, standing outside the entrance to my house with a small rock in her hand and a big grin on her face. I blinked a couple of times to make sure I wasn't still asleep, then stared back at her in disbelief. Who could blame me for thinking I was dreaming? How else could such a cliché come true? Fortunately, I wasn't dreaming. A couple of moments passed, but she just kept looking up with that grin, obviously amused by my reaction. She put a finger to her mouth in a shushing gesture. I got it, she didn't want to wake my parents up, though she had taken a pretty big risk with throwing rocks at my window. She must have been able to figure out which room was mine based on my mom's comments yesterday. I gave her a thumbs up and headed back into my room. I quickly changed out of my pajamas and checked the time. It was nearly 3 in the morning. I couldn't walk out the front door since my parents' bedroom was on the first floor. I'd have to go out the window. As it was only the second floor, I'd easily be okay with a drop if I was careful. I headed to the window and leaned myself out of it, positioning myself carefully on the roof. I waddled along the edge of the roof and then turned around so I could lower myself down. I slowly shuffled myself off the roof, holding onto the ledge with my feet dangling. I let go and landed with a quiet thud. Getting back wouldn't be too hard as long as I could find something to step up on to reach the edge of the roof. There had to be something in the yard I could use, but Alexandria came first. I had a million questions for her, but more than anything, I was just happy to see her again. I turned towards Alexandria, and she tackled me with a hug. I smiled. I felt the same way. I put my arms around her too and held her close. We stood there with our arms around each other for a while. Alexandria, what? Shh! She put a finger to her lips and shushed me. She grabbed my hand and mouthed, "Follow me." We walked in silence as we left my neighborhood together. Once we were out onto the main road, she pulled us into a trail in the woods. Not creepy at all at 3 in the morning. I wish I had thought to bring a flashlight, but as the thought entered my head, Alexandria reached into her pocket and pulled one out. It was a small one, but it'd do. I leaned in to whisper in her ear. "Do you know where we're going?" She nodded. I took a look at the maps of the area. We're going to a clearing on a hill pretty close to where I live. It's about time I did something for you for a change. I had no idea what that meant. I still had my million questions to ask her, but I figured she'd just shush me again. I let her take the lead. After walking through the forest trail for about 10 minutes, she said in a normal tone, "Okay, I think we can talk now." I wasted no time. "So, do you want to explain what's going on?" "I came to see you, and now we're going to see the stars." "We are?" "Yep." We walked in silence a bit more. I guess she didn't want to address the obvious, but I needed answers. "Okay, let me rephrase that. Would you like to explain why you didn't show up at our meeting time, what that letter was about, and why you're abducting me at 3 in the morning?" She looked over at me. "I did not abduct you. You climbed out your window on your own." She sighed and stopped in her tracks. I stopped with her. Sorry. It's complicated. You probably figured out what happened. My father decided to go back on his decision." "That's what I was afraid of. I'm guessing you didn't write the letter." "No, I didn't. A member of the staff probably wrote it. He asked me to do it, but I refused." She started walking again, quickening her pace like she wanted us to move past this topic. "I snuck out of the house because I wanted to see you. We don't have too much time till people in the mansion start getting up. I just wanted to show you one thing before we decide about us." Ominous. I watched her back in silence for a couple of moments and then jogged to catch up. "Did your dad give you a reason?" "He said that it was too dangerous for the family for me to be out given the investigation. People would start asking questions the longer I was out, and I became more familiar in the town." "Is that it?" "That's it." What could I even say to that? A stupid reason like that had been enough to lock her up. I was glad she wanted to see me, but I still had so much to ask. "Alexandria." She cut me off. Stop. We had done this routine before, back when she had told me about her family. Given how much I learned that time, I figured I might as well start listening. "I should do most of the talking tonight." She was no longer looking at me and determinedly staring straight ahead. I followed a step behind her. The leaves and branches crinkled beneath our feet. "I've already told you about my family and how I was brought up. I told you it was rough. I'll spare you the details of what being locked up in a mansion does to a person, but I was lonely. I was sad. My whole life was just so stagnant, like it never moved forward at all. Days, weeks, months, years passed, and nothing changed for me. My father, my brother, the staff, Everyone was so superficially nice to me. I had everything you could seemingly want. Any book, item, toy, just a word and I could have it. But I had nothing I really, truly desired. I didn't have any friends. I couldn't play with others. I couldn't discuss books with others. I had never gone to a store. I had never gone to a restaurant or a cafe. I couldn't dream. I couldn't love.
Alexandria.
Stop. She turned to face me. You're not real good at this listening thing, are you?
She shook her head a little sadly.
I doubt I ever really wanted to die, but I certainly wasn't interested in living. I just sort of existed for 18 years, an empty husk of a human raised to be an heiress to a family she wasn't really a part of. Eventually the day came where I got to have a taste of freedom. Just a taste, mind you, but still, a taste.
She reached out and grabbed my hand like she had when we first started walking tonight.
Then I met you. That was my first night away from the mansion. Well, you know the rest of that part of the story. For the first time in my life, I really lived. The things we did together, going to cafes, walking along the canal front, going to Walmart, they may be nothing to you, but they were everything to me.
She squeezed my hand.
My father, he told me that my taste of freedom was over. It's more complicated than that, and I can't tell you the details. Please, believe me, it's for your own good. But the end result was that I wasn't allowed to go out anymore. He had that letter written to you and had a staff member deliver it as an excuse for why I'm gone. No one besides us knows that you know that I'm a thorn.
I started to open my mouth again, but she covered it with her other hand, the one that wasn't holding my hand.
I said I'd do the talking, dummy.
Okay, can I talk? The thing is, when the letter mentioned the other friends, that's where I got a little both suspicious and worried, like thinking, okay, someone else might have written it, but also with that exposed that they know who she's been talking to. So I hope that's really true, that they don't think we know more than she let on. Bit tricky there. She took her hand off my mouth with a small, sad little smile.
Anyway, once I had a taste of freedom, once I got to know you, there was no way I could go back to my previous life. As soon as the arrangements were made for locking me up again, I made plans to escape. They locked my suit on the 4th floor of the mansion. It was a little bit of work to get out.
Wasn't that really dangerous?
Very.
Are you going to be okay? She shrugged.
If I don't get caught.
Alexandria, if you're in danger, then I don't know.
You're worth it to me.
I stopped in my tracks, taking in what she said. I wasn't worth that risk. She didn't stop and kept walking forward, forcing me to start moving again, lest I break the contact between our hands.
I understand if you don't want me to keep risking things on your account, or if you don't want me to bother you anymore. But hold on to that thought. There's a bit of a silver lining for us.
She took a hesitant deep breath.
I snuck out, and I have a plan to sneak back in. I ran to your place and threw the rocks at your window because I needed to see you at least one more time to decide about us, and because you deserved to know what was going on. The silver lining is that I've got a deal with my father. If the deal works out, I'll have my freedom again, and more, much more. You won't have to hide who I am anymore. We can be with each other, no questions asked.
A deal? Don't tell me. Alexandria, you can't make a deal with your father if it's about the murders.
It's not about murder.
She snapped at me. We still held hands, but her hand felt like a vice grip because she was squeezing so hard. I kept quiet. She spoke again, softer this time.
It's not about the murders, I promise. Blade is the murderer, I'm sure of it. My father and I, neither of us have anything to do with them. The deal has nothing to do with murder, please believe me. Was I just going to take her word for it? I had to. My feelings were far too strong to not want to believe what she told me. Okay, I trust you. Thank you, Nick. This deal, or whatever it was, it sounded too good to be true. We don't even know the details yet. Just that it's not about the murder. Come on. I mean, here we were slinking around in the forest in the wee hours of the morning because her family forbade her from leaving, and she was telling me that soon she wouldn't have to worry about hiding who she was. Why all the risk to see me if this was going to change soon? Could we not wait until then? Or was something else going on? Alexandria, are you sure that you wouldn't rather just stay with my parents and I? We tell them and my uncle who you are. We tell lots of people. Then the Thorns can't risk doing anything to us. They have to acknowledge you or just ignore you. You could be free that way. She kept walking in silence for a while before she glanced over at me with a smile. I'd love to do that if I could, but don't underestimate my father and brother. They would take as many as they could with them if they thought they were going down, and my existence is something that could take them down. I can't risk you or your family. Also, there's something else I can't run from. Please believe me. That really wasn't what I wanted to hear, but I had no doubt about her feelings. She was either playing me for the greatest sucker alive, or she cared about me so much she had to see me at whatever cost. I was willing to gamble on the risk of the first option if it meant the possibility of the second. I repeated what I had said just a little bit ago. Okay, I trust you. She gave my hand a squeeze in response. Up ahead, you could see the trail lead to a clearing, which must be where Alexandria was leading us towards. She did say that we were going to see the stars. She started pulling me along quicker. She turned around to face me. Her face had a look I had never seen on her before. It was a mixture of happiness, longing, and sadness. Maybe it was just what I was hoping for, but I thought it might look like the face of someone looking at the person they loved. I could look at that face forever. You're always doing things for me, Nick. You took me to the fireworks, to the cafe, to the library, to Walmart. We met your friends and family. You opened up my whole world. Granted, it's Alcantra, so a small world, but to someone whose world was just one house and one yard, well, even Alcantra seems huge. She let go of my hand and took off running, and I had to start running to keep up with her. When you invited me to the fireworks, my whole life changed that night, and for the better. I might end up being the worst thing to ever happen to you. I'm a thorn. I know what my family is like. I know it won't be easy for us to be together, but no matter what happens, you'll always be the best thing to ever happen to me. We burst into the clearing. The whole world seemed to open up before us like Alexandria's words had been spoken into existence. Dozens of stars, a barrage of lights cheered for our arrival. She bounded ahead a few steps to the edge of the clearing on top of the hill and spread her arms out, the night sky and the stars behind her. We were two more stars who had just arrived on stage. Alexandria had told me to let her do the talking tonight, but I wasn't sure I could talk even if I wanted to now. I was breathless, taking in the night sky. I lived in Alcantra all my life. I had seen the stars here before. They had never been like this. The hill, the atmosphere, or maybe it was because it was Alexandria I was seeing them with. Whatever the reason was, it made the world look beautiful. I finally managed to take my eyes off of the stars to look over at Alexandria, who was looking back at me. The sparkle in her eyes glowed just as bright and as beautiful as the stars. You've done so much for me, and I've done nothing for you. As I am now, I don't have much to offer. All I could give you were the feelings in my heart. So, here they are. These are my feelings for you, Nick. As deep as the night sky, as bright as the glow of the stars. I looked at her with her arms spread, her feelings bared. Alexandria, I feel the same. I forgot all about our current predicament. There was only the here and now, Alexandria and I under the stars. It was a moment that would pass, but I knew that this moment would live on in both Alexandria and me. The only difference between a moment and an eternity is the perspective you hold towards them. Our most precious moments become forever. I started forward to step into her arms, but a sly smile appeared on Alexandria's face, and she held up a finger against my lips. How many times was this now?
Don't ruin it, Nick. This is my big moment. The less you say, the more I can dream. All the possibilities of the depth of your love for me still exist.
I took her finger off my lips. Kind of unfair to me, don't you think? She nodded and turned around her back towards me as she faced the stars.
I know this whole thing is unfair. When we met, I couldn't let you know about me. When I told you who I was, you had to keep that a secret. Being with me is unfair to you, and I'm sorry.
I never thought it was unfair. Even if it was, I didn't care. I'm no good with words anyway. I stepped forward and held her from behind. After a moment, she reached her arms out behind her and grabbed my head and gently brought it down onto her shoulder. Then she leaned her head against mine. We stayed like that for a while. Eventually, she broke away from me, grabbed my hands facing the front this time, and said cheerfully,
"All right, business time."
I was very confused. Business time?
Business time. This was a business trip after all.
A business trip. I repeated it back at her, even more confused. She laughed.
We still have things to discuss. I did say I'd let you talk at the end. Well, it's getting close to dawn, so we better hurry things up. Yes, this was a business trip about you and I. I just had some other events planned as well.
That was an understatement. So, what business do we have?
Business about you and me. I told you that I had made a deal with my father for my freedom. I don't know how long it'll take, hopefully no more than 2 or 3 weeks at most. Can you wait that long?
I nodded. I could wait forever. Oh, sweet summer child.
Perfect, but I know how used you are to having me around. I bet you fell to pieces without me around.
I sure did. She blushed a little at that.
Well, I feel the same way. Every moment in life is precious, and as someone who has had most of her life wasted, I'm not wasting any more. You never know when the end will come. On the off chance that something goes wrong, I want to have spent my time with you. So, my business proposal was that we continue our meetings, just at nighttime, because we can't let people know about me being out of the mansion. So instead, we could do this, like romantic rendezvous thing.
I laughed. You definitely read too many books. Talk about a cliché.
Oh, shut up and give me an answer.
I nodded at her. Sure thing. But if anything goes wrong, I'm busting you out of the Thorn Mansion. I don't care what it takes. Deal? I stuck out my hand, just like old times. She smiled back at me and shook my hand.
Deal.
So, now that we're doing our Romeo and Juliet thing, are we gonna keep having you throw rocks at my window? That seems a little risky.
No, and we'll want to avoid our usual spot since it's so close to town. Actually, I brought you here for more than just the pretty stars. I brought you here so that you'd know this place, because I was hoping to meet here.
That makes more sense. It's still risky, like sneaking out at all, but yeah.
It's kind of close to my place, so I know this makes it a pain for you.
You don't make it easy to be with you.
I know, I already told you that. You're the idiot for not listening. It's kind of a pain to get in and out with my escape route from my room. I'll need some time to do it, so a location close to me would be for the best.
Okay, meeting here is fine. At what time?
How about midnight? We should probably be splitting up around 4.
Sounds like a plan. I'll just sleep through the day. I'm supposed to be depressed that you're out of my life anyway. I checked my watch. Speaking of 4, it's just about 4 now.
Yeah, we better go then.
I was reluctant to say goodbye after what we went through tonight together, but I knew we really had to hurry to pull the stunt off. I had brushed it off earlier, but I really would need to figure out a way to get back onto the roof of my house. It would be embarrassing to screw things up for us because of that. Alexandria gave me a serious look.
One last time, just so you're sure about this. Being with me won't be easy. It's risky for both of us, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Nick. But, well, I wasn't kidding about the whole, deep as the night sky and bright as the stars thing. You mean that much to me, and, well, I had to at least try.
Like I said, I am no good with words, but if I was, I would have confessed to you in as dramatic a fashion. I was thinking of telling you how I felt at the Strawberry Festival.
Strawberries are not as dramatic as stars.
Cute. Shows what you know. You've never had these strawberries.
My love is like the stars in the sky, and your love is like strawberries. What, cheap and sweet?
I wasn't going to confess while we ate strawberries. I was going to do it during the fireworks. So, my love would be like exciting, bright, and very loud.
Who is going to hear a confession during fireworks?
You, if I yelled. That would be dramatic then.
Dramatically embarrassing. I'm not worth a display of public awkwardness.
Yeah, you are. She smiled at me. If she knew what every smile of hers did to me, she'd have no doubts about the depth of my feelings. I was a little jealous that she got to confess first. I decided I'd get a shot in there too. I leaned over and kissed her on the cheek. Sweet dreams, princess. I started to head off, but she laughed and grabbed my hand, blushing furiously.
We're going the same way for a while, but nice try.
So, blushing furiously myself, I let her lead us back to the trail from where we had come. Heard a confession part 2. This one was a lot more romantic. It was... yeah, I'm going to leave it here for today. Maybe a bit short, but let's maybe keep it on the good vibes. Because I'm still expecting things to take a turn for the worst, but who knows. But yeah, that was mostly pretty sweet. Again, much better than what Victor has to deal with. But yeah, again, I think something must still go down here. Not that I want it to, but yeah, there has to be some kind of obstacle. We're not at the happily ever after stage yet, if it even comes to that. But yeah, that's it from me for today. As always, I'd appreciate if you'd let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye bye.